ignite your full spectrum wealthy life. Join us. I'm your host, Burjit Tan, and G100 Global Networking every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific with your friends and families because we all want and deserve to be wealthy and happy and healthy. This podcast is powered by Anchor FM by Spotify. Anchor FM is the super awesome free podcast made easy platform. And for this week, we are so thrilled and honored to have Carol Ann with us. Carol Ann, would you mind share with us what is it that you do?
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you, Rashid. Yes, I'm actually the writing facilitator.
Writing facilitator. I don't know too many writing facilitator to be honest. So that is so fun. That is so fun. So would you mind tell us all what does a writing facilitator do, and what brings you to become a writing facilitator?
That's a very good question. And as the writing facilitator, what I do is I unlock the writer within so that I assist women in becoming more productive with their writing. And what they experience is then free-flowing writing. Then experience that unlocking of the writer within and getting their story written, getting their book written. Because as I say, you can't publish what isn't written. And this has actually all come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within. So this is how I came back to it, because I actually started off as a maths teacher. Maths is what I love. Numbers, maths, it all cooperates. It's just something that I love and I find really easy. I always find numbers just cooperate for me, whereas words never did. I found writing an absolute nightmare. I hated it. I hated words because they never cooperated with me. They always seemed to get stuck somewhere, and I could never quite get them out. I knew what I saw in my mind's eye, and I knew what I felt, but somehow the words wouldn't come. And actually writing anything was just really quite painful. But somehow I must have had a level of writing that was okay, because I passed the exam, at 16 that I needed to, and got a good grade, which I can never understand how I did it, but I did. And I did trained as a teacher, yes, a maths teacher, and yes, I did need some help with my English writing to get to do the essays. But by the final year, I was getting A pluses with my essays. So something shifted there. But what happened for me was that it was through my own daughter's struggle with actually accessing learning. Age 15, going on 16, about to sit her own exams at that age. She had become very angry, no confidence, didn't want to sit any of her exams. She'd become quite rebellious. And I didn't know how to help her. She just said, I'm going to fail them all. I'm going to fail them all, Mum. There's no point in me sitting my exams. And it was at the Christmas, just before she was due to sit her exams, that I found an educational kinesiologist, brain gym consultant. And it was amazing how it happened, because I'd heard about brain gym, but I heard about the course. And I'd gone into this natural therapist clinic just to get some essential oils, and saw a leaflet and said, oh, can you have a one-to-one, for brain gym? And she went, oh, yes. And here's David Hubbard right now. And literally this consultant came out to get something for a client that he was working with. And in that 1-minute conversation where I told him what I was observing with my daughter, he said, I can help. I went, great, book me an appointment. And from the January to the May, when she sat her exams, she let me sit on all of the sessions. And literally, I was just amazed and very often choked at the changes that happened to her, because I saw that my daughter came back to me.
Wow.
That confident, happy, cheerful girl, you know.
Yeah.
And she sat all her exams, passed them all, went on to do another course the following year, was getting merits and distinctions.
Wow.
And actually said to me, Mum, I wish I could do my GCSEs again, because I know I could do better. And I just had to find out more. So I then started training in Brain Gym and thought I would just tick it alongside my teaching. But the universe had other ideas, as it does. Literally, I was doing one course after another, and ended up having to leave teaching because there was this conflict. It made such a change and a difference for my students and my teaching, but I couldn't explain it. And I say this was about 20 years ago. So I literally met this enormous mountain of resistance. And so I knew I had to step out of teaching, because, you know, you're either a teacher or what you're doing now. It was clearly confusing for them. So yeah, I stepped out and started training in other complementary fields. But, you know, started off with educational kinesiology, Brain Gym. And an educational kinesiology is about re-educating the body to move in a more efficient way. It's drawing out learning through movement. Mm-hmm. And I just experienced such shifts for myself after that as well, and then training in other fields. And then one day I decided to do an English language A-level, which was the advanced level that we do here before you go to university, which is something I thought was beyond me. You know, English language, how did I get my ordinary level at 16? There's no way I'm going to get an A level, you know. But I thought, no, let me have a go at this. So this would have been about 16, 17 years ago now. And I sat it and I passed it. It was hard work, you know, but I had all the tools and the techniques to support me. And every week I was asking questions. So I was able to ask questions to get answers to help me as well in a way that I couldn't before, because all my trainings, you know, I was an NLP master practitioner by this time. So again, I could hear and listen to what was being said, ask questions until I got the understanding that I wanted. But it took like out of me, but I got it. And then just found myself helping other people with their writing. It just happened. And then I realized that there was something here that is actually quite enjoyable with writing. I found myself starting to enjoy playing with words, exploring words. And then, what was it, about 4 years ago, I suddenly had the opportunity to write it's just a 200-word piece for a community book project, which I did. It got published. And all of a sudden I'm a published author and I'm going, how does that happen? You know, because actually many years before that must have been even before I did my English language A-level, so probably about 18 years ago, I actually had heard a voice in my head that said to me, you are going to write a book. And that was like, what? That was such a shock to me, because actually I was sat on a boat on San Francisco Bay. Oh. You know, I'd been visiting some relations over there, and I'd done a Brain Gym course over there as well. But I was just on the boat going across the bay, and I was looking up at the mountainside, and I was looking, and there's this beautiful mansion at the top, and I'm going, that's going to be mine one day. You know? And there's these voices in your head saying, oh yeah, and how are you going to, you know, be able to do that? Then that was 3 or 4 million. I dread to think how much now they are. But even then, 3 or 4 million was like, you seemed beyond me. Yeah. But literally, there was this loud voice in my head. you're going to write a book. And I was like, what? Me? No, that's not possible. I hate writing. I can't write. But from there, I got curious and thought, okay, so if I am, what am I going to be writing about?
Yeah.
How am I going to write it? And so, yeah, that sort of sent me on that quest from there on. And so the sort of journey has taken me on that path.
Mhm.
And so, yes, as you heard, I've now become a published author, and I'm now in 5 community book projects with 9 different pieces.
Wow.
So, and I have got my own books that I've started. It's now a case of getting them written and published. But it's been an amazing journey, and the last year I've been questioning, because I've had the joy of helping my grandchildren with their maths and going, oh, I really love maths. What am I doing, Lord? You know, why writing? Why are you getting me to write when I still struggle with a bit, you know, quite a bit with it, and not as much.
Mhm.
There's still that struggle. And I did get quite sort of down. And I've now started to pick up again because I've realized there's a breakthrough for me to have here.
Yeah.
There's something for me to learn, and I'm constantly learning. And so that's what keeps me going at the moment. So
Good.
I will continue this journey
Yeah.
of unlocking the writer within.
That's wonderful, and that you are that is so wonderful, and you're helping other people doing the same thing. That's that's the beautiful thing. I can imagine. I can relate with that because well, I was about to say I was really good with math. I kind of relate with your experience. I was really good with math, very good with math, but it doesn't mean I like it. I just kind of like happen to be good with math. I was like, oh my God, if you mention the word calculus, it still give me a shiver.
Oh,
I'm like, ooh, those are the most traumatizing things in life.
mm,
But the writing, it's very very interesting to discover. I know I've heard you're a writing facilitator. The part that I never know was it was actually challenging for you, which is kind of, I think, is a good message for our audience here, that
mm,
you might believe that you are the worst writer under the sun, and writing is just not part of your life and things, and it is possible to be able to write and even help people through your writing. And that's where I could
mm,
relate. I hate it. Oh gosh, I got life knows I hated writing with a passion when I was younger. It's so much so that I remember the first time I met my mentor, and then at the same time I met one of the person who become my writing coach. And she said, you need to write a book. And this was in 2000, this wasn't even that long ago, 2014. 2014, it's like, you need to write a book. And I said, you can't even pay me to write a book. And partly because the writing in here in that I have had to do is all academic writing. It's all for peer review
mm,
publications, which is a pain in the back end, and it's tedious, meticulous, highly boring to me. And then it's also with peer review anything, it's become a little bit of a politic as well, right? Anyhow, so I
mm,
was like, I will never write it. I have to write, I have to publish back in the day to become a board certified oncologist. That's part of the requirement. You got to publish after publish, and that was like horrid. And I think you might have known that I have one book that's on my own, Seeking Peace. I actually have 3 books right now.
mm.
The 4th one's on the way. And so it's very interesting how the life changes. And I can relate what you say. The first time I hear about writing, I'm like, no. You get out of here. It's like, it will not happen in a million years.
Yeah, yeah. No way, no way.
And
Not a chance.
with me, I went back to the same person's, what is it, like 6 years later or something, not even.
Mm,
I was like, I think you were right back then. She was just laughing. But that is so interesting to be able to help people with the writing, and you say it's, you know, it's allow people to express. Can you explain more about that? What do you think's benefit of writing for people in terms of being able to allow them to thrive better?
Um, you get to know yourself.
Mm.
It's actually, for me, I realize it's a healing journey,
Mm, mm,
because you come up against your limiting beliefs, what holds you back, how you feel about it. That inner child that maybe hated writing at school is the one who's pulling against you writing now. And it's allowing that inner child healing to happen.
mm.
And so that can be laid to rest, so that therefore you can start to feel more enjoyment with writing. So it's actually quite a healing journey. And I don't think people realize how much it can be, but it is. It's a huge healing journey. And you get, as I say, you get to know yourself through that writing journey as well. And you can then, you grow as a person.
Mm.
I've lost your question.
That was my question.
Is that-
How do you find being able to write benefit people, or the writers, of course? And I would say, you know, that would be a beautiful answer. I never see it as a, which is, I would say that is true, right? If you weren't a writer before, there's a component of fear. I would say a good part of me was like, it's kind of like been a little bit traumatized, and a little bit of, oh my God, all this trouble, I can't fathom doing that again. And so it's like you said, it's a healing journey, which is quite beautiful. And honestly, I never even see it that way, or never realized it that way until you mentioned.
Yeah, because you get more confident with yourself. Those inner voices that pull you down start to quieten and actually start working with you. You know, so there's a peacefulness that comes. There's a confidence. There's a more self-esteem that comes through the writing, and obviously it impacts your own writing, how you're writing, what you're writing, because the more you can shift that, your actual style of writing, it allows for your own voice to come out, your own way of writing, your tone to come out in your writing.
Right.
And so it's not forced, because what I know, and through, I can sort of feel it. If something is forced, it comes through in the words, it comes through in your writing, and that will impact your reader and push them away or make them not feel comfortable. Whereas if you can work through that and come from a place of freedom and ease of writing, even when it's your story, because what I focus on, or have come to focus on more, is people writing their story, because that's the one that's emotional, there's a vulnerability to it, and the one that they tend to pull away from doing, but it's the one that actually will make a big impact on building their business even more. So it is allowing them to be with the emotion and be able to write from there rather than being taken over by it. But if you can write from that emotion, it goes through in your words, it connects with your reader. It's heart to heart. And, you know, that reader is possibly your potential client. If you've got a business and it's your story that you're writing. But even if you're just writing because you enjoy writing, and there's always another level that you can go to, even if you're someone who writes freely, enjoys it, and has always had a good level of writing, there's always another level you can go to, is what I believe now. And I think we tend to settle, and it's about not settling for where you're at. It's about recognizing that actually we have potential way beyond what we actually realize or think we have. To whatever level we're at with our writing right now, there's a whole nother level we could go to.
There's always room for improvement. And I would say
Absolutely.
it's very interesting because that is indeed my experience. When I wrote Seeking Peace, what is that, 2019, only 3 years ago. But even now, I could tell when I write it, it's like a different flow. It's actually funny that you mentioned that I was doing applications yesterday. It's one of those like massive, extensive pages after pages of applications that you have to write and write and write and write to exhaustions. And I remember doing this same thing last year, and it took me, I think, 3 days. And this time, granted that I have seen the questions before, it's slightly different questions, but this time it took me 4 hours.
Oh no.
I was like 3 days, 4 hours. So there are some certain informations I needed that I already have. So that was a little bit, but also I think the part, like you said, it's the fear and the growth. You're like, okay, and I did this last year. I survived. Let's not be fearful. Just like and the flow as well. The same thing when I and the healing part. Now I thought about it. It's actually something that I do in my grief coaching. I do ask people to write their story, within limit. Not writing a book. It's just kind of like more writing myself. I had an experience with that. With her name is Dr. Jean Houston. And Dr. Houston one time teach us to write from the third person point of view. And that was very interesting. And I choose to do that with the third person point of view, and I use animals to present different character for people. And I think I call it, I never publish it, I call it the fairy, the wolf, and the puppy dogs.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was quite healing, like you said, and it's allowed you to break through your, look back as well as break through your limitations. So with the writing, sounds like there are a lot of skill that you learn from writing that's also applied to life. It sounds like. So do you, from the experience, from your daughter in your growth and all the things that you do you have one or two particular, one or two advice for our audience in terms of continuing to grow and creating an even more beautiful, full spectrum, rich, joyful life?
I love that phrase of more rich spectrum, joyful life. That word spectrum, yes, it is. We're at one end of the spectrum, and it's like there's a other end, but actually beyond that's another spectrum, is what I believe is. So it's never ending. There's always another spectrum you can go on, just having that joyful riches. And what I've realized is actually our words, there's so much richness and wealth in our words, with the way you can use them, the amount of vocabulary that is available to us. And so it's about one of the things I've realized is expanding your vocabulary, exploring words, pick a word a week, and which is something I've started doing. And I've started doing it because I've got a membership group that I'm running, but I'm running this word a week because that's something I feel I wanted to do, because it's about growing your writing mastery. And it's words are the main thing to do with writing. You haven't got your words,
right?
You haven't got anything. And so it's finding different words. It may be a word that you already know and use a lot, but by finding words that are the same, synonyms, that you can use a different word that says the same thing. It just gives you that variety. Or it may be that it's a word that you do know, but you never use. There's so many words that we know, but we never use. Why not? So it's bringing it into your repertoire. So it's not just about expanding your vocabulary, it's about expand your repertoire and really get to know words, bring them alive. Because for me, words were always dead. And even now, many words will just sit on a page. I'll hear them or see them and I'll go, yeah. It's like they are literally dead. They're not moving. So by looking up the meaning, looking up synonyms, looking up antonyms, you know, the opposite, I bring them to life. I get a feel for them. I can start to see what they mean and hear them. And so they start becoming part of something I feel comfortable with. So really explore, because there's a wealth of opportunity there that can really enrich your life and enrich your writing. And another thing is just realize that we all have a message within us to share with the world that will actually make an impact and make a difference in someone else's life. And it may only just be one person, but if you can change someone else's life, just one person, everybody around that one person is impacted. So you've impacted other people as well. So there's a ripple effect. And so it is recognizing what are the doubts that you have about sharing your experience, your story, and lay those doubts to rest, because by not sharing your story, you're actually depriving someone else of the chance to possibly change their life in some way. It can be that dramatic, you know, so just bear that in mind.
That's what I love that, in how words is creating your full spectrum reaches by increasing your wealth of words. That is so beautiful, and knowing that to allow ourselves to step up to the plate, so to say, because otherwise, like you said, we might be depriving others. How do people find out about you? And you mentioned you have these words of the week club or something. How do people find out about you and or your work?
At the moment, I best way to find me is either on LinkedIn or Facebook. I do have a Facebook group. If you find me on Facebook, you can see on my banner, click on here and you'll find out about my my group. And it's then getting in touch with me and finding out about because I do have a free 5-day writing challenge that helps you to reconnect with your writing. It helps you to give the foundational framework or build that for your writing, that enables you to then focus on your writing and move forward with it. So I run that every 8 weeks. And I do have ones coming up next week, but it might be a bit soon, but there's always one. So do, find me on Facebook and find out about it, so we'll put it out there. And my membership group is, it's a paid membership group, and it's where you get time and space to write. There's 2 opportunities a week. So it's Tuesday evening and Thursday morning UK time. Mm-hmm. So it means that people in other parts of the world can actually join in at least one of them. But it gives you focused time and space to write. And within that, there's support, because I will do some activities that just help you be present, shift any anxiety. So there's a different element that I bring to it as well. But you get that focused time, and people are finding it really helpful with their writing. So that's yeah, those are the two things that I do have other programs, but do find me and focus on that. My free 5-day writing challenge and my membership group.
That's awesome.
But find me on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Super.
It's Carol Ann Cooper.
We'll put the link for that as well. And that is super awesome. Yes, having a dedicated time, I found through my by now multiple books to adventure is like night and day different. It's like, you know, discipline yourself. I'm going to do this at this time and once a week or twice a week or what have you. Sure, make a huge difference. Thank you so much. Do you have a final message for our audience? One final message for our audience?
There's quite a few things that sort of settling, but there's something about maybe there's that inner child as a voice and wants to speak out. Allow that inner child to be heard, to have that voice. And what I found through writing, it has helped my speaking journey. So it does help give you a voice. It helps you to speak out. So get in touch with that inner child. What does that inner child want to say that hasn't yet been said? It's been held back. And allow that voice to come out to the world. It's time to be heard.
Right. That's beautiful. And I imagine that's very true. And when you write, you allow the inner child to be heard, and then it will amplify all other aspects of your life as well. You say, you know, with speaking and things, because now you learn to express yourself in an even better way. And so that is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Carol Ann, for sharing your tips today. That is, and your story is so inspiring. And for you, my friends who are listening to this, please share 1 or 2 gold nuggets in the comments so we can continue learning from each other. And I thank you for joining us. Please share this podcast with your friends and family so they too can triumph. And this is Dr. Birgit Tan, your grief transformation specialist for individual and businesses, founder of the International Childhood Cancer Charity and United States country chair for Global Networking G100 All Ladies League. And you make it a thriving day, my friend, and we will see you again next week, next Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Bye-bye for now.